these other truck drivers on restarts, something that changes the course of a lot of our races. He knows how to bang fenders a little bit and get leverage and some of those things that maybe a Brent Cruz hasn't experienced yet.
Well, we're under red for that big fire that we saw from Wesley Slimp, and Josh has caught up with them.
Yeah, he's been checked and released from the care center. And Wesley, what happened there? Did you have any indication it was about to blow up, like you said over the radio?
Yeah, so we had an issue that started around turn 3. I was obviously already going to bring it back to pit lane. By the time I hit pit lane, I started to get some smoke under the dash, and then the spotter let me know there was a flame, so we shut it down. I have to get back to the team to see what happened, what caused it. But all in all, I'm just really bummed for them, and to cut the only practice session we have short. But I know we'll get back out there and figure it out for qualifying.
Yeah, not the way you wanted your Truck Series debut to start, but what does it mean to have this opportunity here? Even
just to be here is such a privilege. I want to thank Halmar Friesen Racing and the Bruce Cook Racing team for getting me out here. And it's been a lot of work, which is why I'm just bummed to see that truck go up like that. It was fast. I was starting to figure it out. But, you know, head up, we'll figure it out, and have a good qualifying tomorrow.
Well, appreciate your time, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Yeah, a lot of work for that team tonight. They'll get back after it for qualifying tomorrow morning, and then the race coming up at 1 Eastern on Fox. So Wesley, 22-year-old from Marietta, Georgia. You know who else is from Marietta, Georgia? Corey Heim.
That's right. He had run 16 laps, Jamie, and he said he was figuring it out. His fastest lap was on lap 13. So beginning to get the corners all put together, but unfortunately it went away.
How cute is that little amateur photographer taking pictures of his little brother?
How cool is that? He had run 16 laps.
Families having so much fun out here as practice continues, but we remain under red. Hopefully we'll get back at it.
Always dry scoop before you run.
Listen to me. The hot dog diet got me shredded.
It's time we listen to science. One A Day is formulated with key nutrients to support whole body health. One A Day, science that matters.
Precise designs, subtle curves, curated upgrades, elevated design for thoughtful living. Thuma.
Ready to start your own merch business?
you a breather to collect your thoughts, though, and maybe have a little bit more communication face-to-face even with your crew chief on pit road to say what this truck needs. You know, what is it you're lacking? And I want to focus in on Daniel Hemrick for just a second here. We see him in 19th place. Daniel's finished top 5 in both of his road course starts in the Truck Series, so someone that we would expect to see up front. But this has kind of been Daniel's MO this year. He's one of those guys that maybe hasn't had the raw speed. He did win at Martinsville and get his way into the playoffs, but he's been a top 5 guy. He just kind of sneaks in at the end of these races, and I think that could play really well for him at Lime Rock, somewhere where we mentioned earlier in the show, if you just stay on the track during this race, you might have a shot at a top 5.
Look at Andres just ahead of him. That truck all hung out. We know these guys are learning the limits of the track and really starting to push the issue. See a lot of tire lock up here as that run ended before the caution flag, and that just means as they go down the straightaway that isn't that straight, Paul Newman's turn, and then they're going to hop over this little hill, and that's where the fun starts. Look at that truck.
You're probably partial to that paint scheme too, aren't you, Mike?
I do love the Napa colors. They make me really happy. Napa Auto Care has been a partner with Bill McAnally and his team for 100 years, I bet. About as long as Napa's been around, it's been a part of that family, so it's good to see.
And watching Daniel for that whole lap, nothing really seemed out of control there. It seemed like very stable, you know. A lot of times at a road course like this, you try to go faster, you start sliding more, and you just go through the tire, you start slowing down. And so I think one of the most tricky parts to Lime Rock is just being under that limit. If you can stay right under it, you actually can make some more speed.
There's a lot of new faces, and it's so fun to see from different backgrounds. Ben Mayer, 16 years old from Maryland. Guys, he reached out to me on Instagram. He said, you know, I don't even have a driver's license. I can't get one until 16 and a half years old in Maryland. Here he is. This kid has done everything from Legends cars, go-karting. He's done Nitro Rallycross. He's done Trans Am. And now he's trying his hand at the Truck Series. But I do know that there's a lot of expectation out of him. He's one of the Chevrolet drivers coming up through, like Connor Zillich. What a nice young man. But he's another one of those, Michael, there's no testing. Just jump in there, guys, and see how it is as he gets off-road a little bit.
And that's what it's like to not know where you're going. You come over that blind hill, the trucks are jumping all over the place. 25th quick in this session so far for Ben, which, you know, that's not as fast as I know he wants to be, but he's certainly checking a lot of boxes, getting a lot of laps and learning.
Yeah, and this is such a new and unique path that we're seeing from young drivers, 16, 17, 18-year-olds, like I mentioned earlier, Connor Zillich. They're going to Trans Am. They're running TA2 cars. They're getting a lot more road course experience. One of those reasons is because of the importance of road courses now in our schedules. The Truck Series, Xfinity, Cup. You can make it to the Cup playoffs. SVG just proved it at Mexico City. You win a road course race and you can be in the playoffs. And so these guys are putting a lot more emphasis on it. And that's probably, you know, part of what has played into maybe Ben Mayer's development in the road course side.
Yeah, and Ben, one of those guys, he's raced here 3 times before. So these young kids, although they don't have experience in the trucks, they have experience at this track. So that could prevail in the race tomorrow. As we go to the opposite end of the spectrum, 64-year-old Dale Quarterly. He's been pretty good at these road courses in the Arkham and Art Series, doing double duty this weekend.
I just love the veterans. You know, I have a soft spot for the teenagers coming in, but when you see a guy like Dale Quarterly, who's been around for a long, long time, getting the chance, as an older fella like myself, getting the chance to get out there and mix it up and just make some laps, you just got to be so happy right now out there in his truck, just enjoying this beautiful racetrack.
And you guys might remember this exactly, but was it Mid-Ohio last year where Dale was running like inside the top 10 in the Truck Series, battling? He's not just here, but he wants to contend.
Had a fast truck there, as you see our double duty drivers. Thomas Annunziata, another one of those road course guys from Trans Am, came up with Brent Cruz and Connor Zillich. There's a whole flock of them, a lot of talent out there.
Got to be friends with Thomas out in Sonoma last year when he was racing one of his first starts. Got to know him a little bit. He's, you know, loves everything he gets to do, but he knows this is a big deal. This is a chance that he can go out, win this race, and turn some heads in NASCAR.
Well, it's a great truck. Best opportunity that he's had. The Colts Neck, New Jersey driver, 20 years old, driving for Spire. Teammates with Jordan Taylor. Now that's a duo.
Well, and Michael, you talk about, you know, turning some heads, and I, you know, if you play baseball, you play football, and you're in high school, and you start seeing scouts show up for the first time, and they're sitting in the stands, the nerves that creates for maybe those young athletes, that's what these 16, 17-year-olds are experiencing right now. This is their opportunity to come out. Ben Mayer, you mentioned, I had not heard his name until he was in this truck race. And, you know, guys like Thomas Annunziata that have come on the last couple of years, we're just starting to be introduced to them. And now they get to come in and show what they can do and make a splash. You want to do that early. You want to go out here in one of your first few races and show that you can hang with these guys.
Here's Tyler Ankrum. Talked so much about him most of this season, got that win, broke that winless drought, but he's had a rough few weeks. Need to get things turned around.
And this is a good place for him to do just that. Solid in this practice session, not flashy, 17th quick so far, but is able just to learn, put those laps in. Thomas Annunziata in that 07 truck, he's run the most laps in this session, 26. That's exactly what that team needed to do and wanted to accomplish. Get in a lot of laps, have some good speed.
Jack Wood in the 91. This is right in his wheelhouse as well, a road course racer.
I think this is about the point of practice where people start gaining a little more confidence than maybe ability and start pushing the limits. We saw the 02 kind of go up in the dirt a minute ago, but you know, I've been really impressed so far. We haven't seen any off-roading, no big excursions yet, not too bad.
Little touch here, little dip there, but nothing major.
And I want to see if the intensity, you got to find, well, almost found the limit there. You got to find the limit at some point. What is too much and who's going to push that?
That was it right there.
That's the limit.
You don't want any more of that right there. Heading down into Big Bend, turn 1 and 2. And then this is a corner that I have no problem remembering the name of it, Jamie. It's unique. It's the only one.
Left-hander, baby.
And it's the left-hander as we work our way up to the next corner, which is called the right-hander, and then onto this Paul Newman straight.
Or
ish.
Yes.
How about that? That'll get us down to the uphill turn. An uphill turn is where everything's been so fun to watch today, right there, just jumping over that hill.
Yeah, and you saw the 18 use a little bit of curbing there. There is some difference throughout the racetrack on curbing item. Where can you get on it? Where can you not? They're going to start pushing those limits. You see him flick that truck down into the corner. He just pitched it into turn 4 there to get it to rotate.
Raja Karuth got that big win at Nashville just a few weeks ago, doing a nice job here. 5th on the board for Raja, 26 laps turned.
You want to get in the gas before that hump off that corner, and you'll hear them tease the gas, but then they know they got to roll out of it just a bit to keep the thing on the ground.
When we watch these trucks make a lap, they are busy, Michael. They have their hands full, constantly putting some kind of feedback into the steering or into the throttle, managing rear spin. This is going to be a tiring race for these drivers to manage that over the course of 100 laps.
Well, Trevor, you know this as well as I do. Some of the most physical races we do all year long, it's not Daytona Talladega, it's the road courses. You're just so busy inside of that truck, not only because of shifting gears and turning right and left, but just the frequency of having to make corrections and get that truck, keep that truck up underneath you.
Tanner Gray coming off his best finish, tying his career best of 2nd last week. That has to feel good. I know it's been a season that he expected a lot more.
Yeah, Tanner is definitely building confidence right now, and that week was great for him. Last week, you know, he was 1 corner away from keeping it on the outside of Lane Riggs and having a shot to win. Josh.
And for Tanner, last week was a great week, finishing runner-up, and I talked to him and he said, yeah, that was the first time all season long we've really put together a complete day. The problem is they need a win at this point in the season given where they are. Is coming up, you know, road course racing, not necessarily his thing. He struggled at IRP and Richmond, so while he wanted to be positive about last week's performance, he also felt like he let one slip away, knowing what was ahead. But he said, hey, we got to go back to work. I need to figure out a way to find my way to victory lane. Right now, pretty happy with that truck. They've made some adjustments to get it better. But yeah, it is a tough break, and Trevor and Mikey, I can imagine you guys can speak to just knowing that one just got away from you last week, and you got tracks coming up that aren't necessarily your best.
Yeah, and, you know, Tanner is working hard. I mentioned Corey and the work ethic. See him arcing into turn 3 a little bit there. But I have the privilege of working with a lot of these Tricon drivers every week. Tanner is one of those. And I think I've seen so much growth out of him in the last year, just in a confidence standpoint of knowing that you can go to the racetrack and win. Michael, I know we've all been through ups and downs in our careers, but when you get in that slump and you're like, man, how do I win? And he was used to doing that in dragsters, and told me the other day he had a 35% win rating every time he rolled up to the line, so that can be tough at times.
There you see another guy looking for that win. And this is a cat that's been real impressive in his rookie season.
Love those chrome numbers on the door.
So does Daryl.
He does.
VW will do you some chrome wheels and chrome numbers in about 2 seconds.
One of the drivers who has some experience here. Gio Ruggiero, this is the Trans Am Championship. See him there, Connor Mozak. It's got to feel good to come to a place that you know you've been here, you've raced here, and most of your competition has not.
Yeah, you see the Mobile One colors on the side of that Gio Ruggiero car. That was Charlotte weekend, and Corey Heim was actually supposed to come run that TA2 race. He was on standby at Charlotte for some of the 2311 drivers, was not able to leave and go do that, so Gio Ruggiero got in the car, got some extra laps, which was great for him here.
There you see he's 13th in this session. That beautiful number 17. Heck, isn't that appropriate? It's number 17 and it's got chrome numbers.
I like it.
He's just really celebrating my big brother, isn't he?
It's beautiful. Fastest time, just over 96 miles per hour. Josh Balicki, a name that we've heard quite a bit throughout the years, running in Cup, Xfinity.
What about Josh? This is interesting. We talked about getting used to the track, getting your reps before you can run that fast lap. He's currently 16th. He just went out and ran his fastest lap on lap 1. He was ready to go when he hit this racetrack, and so that's impressive. Now he's completed 22 laps. About a second is what the fall off is.
I would imagine that can be frustrating, though. It's like, I'm trying harder. I'm trying to go faster here. What am I missing?
And his sponsor, or his spotter, I should say, is Bailey Curry, who we see behind the wheel of this truck. For those of you looking for America's Day at the Races, that is currently airing on the Fox Sports app. We'll get you there at the conclusion of our coverage. And of course, we had that long red flag, so we added 15 minutes to this practice session. Got about 9 minutes remaining here.
Jamie, you mentioned Bailey Curry spotting this truck. Remember, all the Cup spotters, they're in Atlanta this weekend. So these truck drivers do have about 3 spotters around the racetrack, depending on the team and what their preference was. But it is not their normal spotters. It's going to be a very different voice, and they're very dependent on those spotters. The other part about a standalone weekend is you don't have your typical data. Normally we have SMT, we call it, where you can see the truck and where it's getting beat, where you're losing time or gaining it. But these drivers right now are going to have to depend on this footage we're showing on air to go back and watch it tonight, or they're going to have to talk to their spotter and say, hey, where did it look like to you that I was getting beat?
Are you saying we're going old school racing here a little bit?
Old school racing right here.
Speaking of which, how about that segue, Jamie? Matt Crafton is on the track.
Got to do him like that every time.
49 years young.
Well,
we always do.
Todd Bodine isn't with us during this session, so we got to give Matt a little bit of grief. But what a champion, what a great racer, and still just loves driving that number 88 Menards truck. Currently 26 with a fast time on lap 12. So that's when you kind of take that to heart, Jamie. When you run that fast lap later in the run, you say, well, there goes Todd Bodine. Hi, buddy.
Maybe he's videoing for the drivers. That's their data right there.
Old school, like we said. Todd Bodine will be joining us for our coverage on Fox Saturday at 1 Eastern.
What about Spencer Boyd there, the 76?
Happy birthday to him.
Yeah. Always brings cool looking trucks to the racetrack.
He does.
I just love this setting, Trevor. We're in the hills of Connecticut, and we're just on a racetrack, but surrounded by grass. It just feels like it's a country setting. The fans all on the hillsides. This is good. There's Spencer, as he's going to learn a lesson here from Corey Heim.
That's what you call the calm before the storm, Michael. You imagine it as calm and serene, and then we're going to have these trucks taken to the racetrack for 100 laps tomorrow.
I thought he was in the perfect situation. He just got behind Corey Heim. I was going to ask you, when you are a driver with not as much experience maybe at a place like this, and you tuck up behind somebody who's fastest on the track, what are you looking for?
Well, it depends, Jamie. If they're a second faster than me, it's not that fun to be behind them because you're only there for about 2 corners.
I'm going to do what he did. I'm going to park and say, we need to work on this thing because he's not going to be able to keep his eye on.
Maybe find somebody a couple tenths faster than me.
Practice continues here from Lime Rock Park. The truck's here for the first time, and it's Brent Cruz who's been on top the entire session.
Banging those gears down into the tight right-hander.
And just all this throttle nuance. Listen through here, never back wide open after turn 3.
You talked about technical, Trevor. That's what we're saying. Listen. And now the fun part. My favorite part of the racetrack. Woo! Up over the hill. Working that throttle.
And as much as your steering is a tool, that right pedal is going to manage all the rotation. How much do I want this truck to turn here as I come off the 7? No, I'm going to turn all the way in. I'm going to come to pit road. But yeah, you try to use every tool that you have. And with road racing, if there's anything I've learned over the last year with some of the road racing coaching I've been doing, it's about car pitch and roll, and you're trying to get the truck loaded onto the exact tire that you need at that moment. And you use the steering to do that, but you also use the throttle and brake to kind of get the load in the right places as you change directions.
Giving his team some feedback, staying buckled in though. If he's going to try to get back out and get another lap. But you see the 66, the Cam Waters came all the way over from Australia.
Are they making some qualifying runs, you think, Trevor?
Jordan Taylor just jumped up to the top of the board, and I don't know, Michael, if that's new tires, if that's a qualifying run. We'll have to get some more information on that to see, because what we could see is he's just figured out the track and he got some fresh Goodyears on that thing, but that's an awful fast lap time.
Yeah, I saw a couple of guys shaking their Goodyear tires. There's Cam Waters. We talked about him for a bit. Rich Lucius working with Cam. Said he just loves his spirit, his energy. A good bloke from Australia.
He comes over from the Supercar Series in Australia, like SVG. Scott McLaughlin, who runs in the IndyCar Series.
Seen him a couple times on the ovals, but this is his first try on the road course. I expect a lot out of this truck tomorrow. I think Cam's going to be fast.
Thor Sport, their 5th truck entered. But yes, this is the first time today we've seen a different name on top of the board with Jordan Taylor. And you mentioned the tires. They only get 5 sets for the entire event, 4 sets for the race, Trevor.
With a minute and a half going and seeing these drivers roll up pit road, we're starting to see other drivers jump up. Brandon Finger just went to 5th. Honeycutt to 3rd. I would have to imagine this is qualifying runs here to get a balance for tomorrow. What's your offset going to be as we go into those 20-minute qualifying sessions that we have tomorrow?
And then you see Raja there's run 39 laps. These guys have got enough, and girls have got enough laps underneath their belt now to say, okay, we're ready to try what it's going to be like to go run 1 lap fast.
And we just confirmed it was a qualifying run on Jordan Taylor there going to the top of the board. So we'll see if these other trucks, what kind of speed they have, and then you can kind of compare that to race trim to see what your tire fall off was as well for the way the race is going to play out.
This is a great shot.
It is.
Corey Heim.
He's got traffic there. That's going to make it tough for him coming to the green. He's going to have to make a pass on teammate Tony Breidinger, getting down into turn 1. See Chandler Smith rolled out right behind him. You asked earlier about having someone to chase. That's definitely what Chandler's mindset was going into this qualifying run.
And Trevor, we had our call this week, and you talked about the best passing zones where we just saw Corey Heim get around Tony Breidinger. That's somewhere to watch tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. You do not want to give up the right side going into turn 1. You're going to do everything we can. I think we're going to see some big blocks down that front straightaway if you think someone has a run off of turn 7 just to keep leverage into turn 1.
Tony Breidinger in that 5 truck, you can see she's lost a little bit of ground to her teammate Corey Heim as Chandler Smith comes down the inside, but she's got some pretty good pace on some of them corners right now. She's 30th quick overall. Hopefully she's learning some things here by following these other trucks.
That was a pretty big compression we saw there at the bottom of turn 7 on the left front of that 38 truck, so they're going to have to manage that a little bit. Looked like the splitter might have hit the ground some. Curious to see also if this is going to be a one and done, Michael, which they're not going to have time maybe for a second lap here, but tomorrow in qualifying, sometimes you run multiple laps just to get in a rhythm and get a feel for what you need.
We do have an alternate start-finish line here like we had at Pocono that allows these trucks to get that fast lap in and to get back to the pit area. So tomorrow we'll race at the start-finish line, but we have a timing line there so that these guys can take better advantage of the time allotted in this session.
So the time has expired. These trucks will wrap up their final laps. So the 71 of Raja Karuth turned the most laps in this session, 40 laps. That's a lot for a typical Craftsman Truck Series practice. But the fastest man at the very end, he jumps to the top. It's Jordan Taylor. Let's hear from him, Josh.
Well, Jordan, first day in a truck and you jump to the top of the board with that qualifying run at the end. But what did you think overall about the experience out there and what you have in the truck for the race for tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I knew I was going to have a good truck, you know, coming with Spire Motorsports. They've been up front all year, so I knew it was going to be down to me to kind of figure it out and learn it because the truck and the equipment's there. But yeah, getting up to speed was interesting. Obviously, my first time in a truck, and I know the track well, but the truck is obviously a different animal from what I'm used to here. But it went well. Yeah, we did a qual run at the end to kind of get an idea for tomorrow, just because every little hundredth of a second I think around here is going to matter for track position, and I think it's going to be tough to pass. So the higher up we start, the better chance we're going to have tomorrow. But yeah, happy with how we started for sure.
And Jordan's already got a couple wins in other series under his belt here, so he could be a favorite to add a truck series win here tomorrow.
Absolutely, obviously in a great truck. He has Brian Patty as his crew chief.
Real shocker at the top of the board here, guys. Look at those two names.
That's
I think you might have said those at the beginning, Mike.
I think those are guys that we're going to be talking about a lot come tomorrow afternoon as well.
Absolutely. Who prevails, the road course ringers, or will it be one of our regulars continuing this streak of wins? Lots more action still to come this weekend. Truck Series qualifying 9:30 a.m. Eastern on FS1, then the truck race at 1 Eastern on Fox, followed by the ARCA race on FS2. For all of us here